folks, welcome to another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
And this is Season 6, Episode 10.
Or Episode 128 if you're counting.
How's everybody doing this evening? Thank you as always to the Patreon contributors over at patreon.com/MarsGirl. You guys make this show and all kinds of other shows that I do happen all the time. I kind of messed around with the green screen because if I hadn't, then my hair would have completely and utterly disappeared.
Yeah.
Though I'm still gonna kind of...
You're on the edge here.
Yeah, like I'm kind of fringy right now, and you have these nice hard line edges all over you.
Well, yeah, you know, red and in juxtaposition with green, it happens.
Yeah, so
I stand out more.
So there's either still playing around with this to be done, or it's time to get my hair a little bit more blue-green again. One of the two.
Or we could just get a better webcam.
That too, because really it's the webcam that has the most difficult time figuring out the difference between really they're two pretty different color greens.
They are.
And when I'm recording on my main camera, it's really not a big deal at all. And yet here we are with this problem every single week. But it's not a big deal. Show still goes on. Still got stuff to talk about. Like what? I say we have stuff to talk about, but I don't really know what I'm saying.
Or you just want to talk about stuff going on right now?
Yeah, that stuff.
Okay, so like we went to Walmart yesterday, and you know we just do that. We just poke around in different sections until we're bored, and then we leave. And then we were poking through the DVD section, and you got super happy because they had something you recognized on DVD.
Yeah, Bump in the Night.
I don't remember any of that.
I had not heard that Bump in the Night was an ABC Saturday morning stop motion claymation animated thing, and the main character is Mr. Bumpy, and he is voiced by Jim Cummings, and he even sings the opening theme song. And I didn't know. For $7.50 you can buy all of Bump in the Night, and I think that's amazing.
Okay.
I needed to know that was a thing that people remembered, and apparently somebody does because now it's on DVD.
Well, did you or did you not play that in the Saturday morning cartoon sing-along?
I did, and you were like the only person who didn't know what it was.
Well, I wasn't the only person. There were some other confused faces in the audience.
Yeah, but there were a lot of people going, yeah, and singing and stuff.
Yeah, this coming from the person who didn't understand how big Kim Possible was going to be.
Because I'm 30.
And you don't understand the staying power of Kim Possible.
Did you watch Kim Possible?
Actually, I did.
When
I had cable. when I used to live at home. That's when I did.
I understand. Okay. Is there anything else going on before we talk about what our main stories are going to be?
We don't want to drill it into the ground too much. Just some of you might have seen that we saw a particular movie last week.
Yeah.
We've talked about that for a total of 4 hours altogether. We did one vlog of the two of us talking about it, and then another one with Roger from Tainted Reality talking about that one a little more off the cuff, a little more raw emotion there in that video. Yeah. So if you guys are interested in hearing about what we actually thought of the movie, we're going to try not to stick a lot of that in tonight's show. There's a lot of spoilers abounding in those videos, so be warned. If you haven't seen it yet, or if you just don't care, which you're totally inclined to, feel free to go ahead and watch those over on her channel.
Which is where you are right now watching this right now.
Yeah, so just stick around there around here somewhere.
Yeah, alright. I guess there really was nothing else major going on this past week between the two of us, right? Really
not to the best of my knowledge, no.
In fact, most of the stuff that I got anywhere even remotely excited about is all stuff that's going to be in our major news stories. Yeah. So I may as well...
Well, we got that loot crate.
We did kind of... We kind of listed off...
you listed off.
If you are one of the Patreon contributors, then perhaps you might have seen... I did this live every weekend on Saturdays at 5 p.m. Central. I do live streams just for the Patreon contributors, and you can be bottom rung Patreon contributor if you feel like participating in those, and then you can watch them later on. I provide them later on, but we did get one loot crate. It's the only loot crate we've ever received because it was a free loot crate for us.
Yes, from a friend of ours.
And so yeah, we got stuff, like we got Predator. I mean, it's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, he guards your desk from the other... What do you got there? The portal turret.
Yeah, it fell on the ground over there.
Which happens.
And then somewhere I also have Wreck-It Ralph, who's also on the ground on the other side So yeah.
They're protecting the ground.
Protecting the ground.
But there was a sweet, like, Punisher reversible beanie, and on the other side it's got Daredevil, and, like, I like it.
That's your thing, right?
That's
there.
my thing.
So there were some cool things in the loot crate. If we had more disposable income, like, I wouldn't mind having loot crate come.
Yeah, I would do it a little more often. They have the anime-based ones now, I was saying.
Loot anime, I think.
Yeah, actually, you're probably right. It's loot anime.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll try that one day.
One day, maybe,
One day.
yeah.
What we should try tonight is doing our show.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about what our major stories are going to be before we get into the follow-ups. So the first story that we will eventually be talking about revolves around Overwatch, which is the upcoming game from Blizzard, the first-person shooter, team-based game. Functions a lot like, Team Fortress and any of those other kind of team-based first-person shooters. And there's some censorship going on over butts, and we're going to talk about
one butt in particular.
A particular butt, and we're going to talk about whether or not that was a reasonable censorship.
Yes. I just want to make sure we put that out there. Butts. Alright, I was just holding for a screenshot. Okay, our second story of the evening. A lot of people very excited about this. It was announced earlier this week that the hit anime manga Full Metal Alchemist will finally be getting a live-action adaptation coming just around the corner.
Out of Japan.
We're going to talk to you guys about who's involved, what to expect, and how this could track based off other live-action adaptations over there in Japan.
And then finally, you guys probably knew this was coming. Last night was the big unveiling of Final Fantasy 15, including release dates and 80 bajillion different things that are probably the reason why this took 10 years to release. So, God, I'm going to be talking about
we're gonna that's probably going to be the long section tonight. Like,
all right, yeah.
That's the way I unload on not quite Justice League, you're about to unload on this.
Yeah, before we continue, actually, I should also mention, and maybe this is, I wouldn't necessarily put this in a follow-up section because we never talked about it to begin with, but, like, Miitomo, just came out.
Yeah.
And everybody right now is on Miitomo. It's this app that you can get for iPhones or Androids. I have it myself under Mars Girl. If you're a friend on either Twitter or Facebook or something, or you're friends with one of my friends, then you can eventually find me and friend me. And, man, my phone just, will not stop now, because Miitomo has been just explosive today. Everyone's on Miitomo.
Well, today was, day one or something, right?
Of the North American launch,
Well,
yes.
there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a thing. I just wanted to say that is a thing that I've been doing and will continue to be doing. Yes.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Good
you
job.
can tell me about some follow-up things, Josh. I know
That's what I do.
That's a thing you like to do.
Follow. Hey, Chris, what you doing out there? What's up? All right, follow-up time. Let's go. The war isn't over. We fought the battle, but the war continues.
What are we fighting?
Same thing we fight every night when we do the show. First story right off the bat. Not quite Justice League. Here we go. All right.
Why are we talking
The war
about this
continues.
now?
The war continues.
Why?
Because stuff still keeps happening. So here we
Okay.
go. So it bears noting as a follow-up that as of today, they have officially, Warner Brothers and DC, made with this movie over $500 million worldwide. As of today.
I mean, I'm not shocked that it made a lot of money. Regardless of however people felt about it, I was never going to be shocked that a movie about Batman and Superman fighting each other was going to make money.
Specifically, they made $308 million, give or take, over here domestically, and then adding on the rest brings it up to $501.9 million worldwide. That's for a total release from Thursday's showings all the way to yesterday. The tale still needs to be told, of course. It is no secret that many reviews have decried the movie for any number of reasons, many of which we covered in our videos. But it remains to be seen how it's going to work the second weekend, because if history tells us anything, the second weekend really tells what the staying power is. I always go back to Ang Lee's Hulk. Number one, its first weekend, and then the plummet.
Yeah,
it just happened. You saw it tank so hard. So I'm willing to see, just how much it really can stay, how much the power of just the names Superman and Batman really have.
That you're gonna have to wait for another couple days to find that out. So
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll be looking into that as it comes up.
Right.
In other related, arguably better news, right now currently out digitally is the direct-to-DVD movie Justice League vs. Teen Titans, out now digitally. Hard copies come out next week. From all the clips that have been made available online, this looks really good. The two different teams working very well off each other. It's more of a Teen Titans story.
Okay.
But they've weaved in the Justice League just so to where it doesn't feel too heavy on one end.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Very much looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Definitely pick up your copy, depending on which medium you prefer, Blu-ray next week or digital right now. In other news, we've got some more Voltron news. So we talked to you guys a little bit that last week at WonderCon, they revealed a lot of key art and new information.
Which we did talk about a little bit because there was just this little bit of teaser footage that we unfortunately did not get the chance to share because it cropped up like right as our show was launching last week.
And that was the unfortunate problem. But now we can go ahead and clue you guys in on who's playing who. So there's a new character under the name Shiro, who apparently is a replacement for Sven from the original, brought over here, Voltron.
Just switching ethnicities, I suppose.
I guess. Who will be voiced by Josh Keaton from Green Lantern, the animated series. There's Keith, who will be voiced by Stephen Yeun from The Walking Dead. Lance will be voiced by Jeremy Shada of Adventure Time, Finn. Pidge will be voiced by Bex Taylor Klaus. People know him from Arrow. Tyler Labine from Tucker and Dale vs. Evil will play Hunk. And Kimberly Brooks, who does several voices in Mass Effect, will be Princess Allura.
Interesting.
So we have those voices to report back on you guys. This will be premiering later in the year on Netflix. Definitely liking the look of the lions together. This new look for all the pilots, it harkens back to the 80s designs, but still, it's a reasonable...
Slightly updated.
It's a reasonable update. I don't hate them. Not by any stretch of the imagination. So very much looking forward to that. Let's see what else we've got here. Another... It's kind of... I gotta warn you guys now, it's gonna be kind of a game-heavy show.
Yeah.
So, in gaming news, kind of related, we had a new International Warcraft movie trailer that came out. It's only about a minute long. Now there's apparently a subtitle on it, Warcraft: The Beginning. And
oh no, that means multi-movie franchise.
Well,
which really,
for
I
Warcraft,
suppose
that's
I
not the worst
expected.
thing.
I expected it, but like that, just the title confirms it outright. If you ask me.
Well, because like I've been saying before, there have been multiple chances to try and make video game adaptations the next big thing after comic book movies, and whichever next one comes out, this or even Assassin's Creed later on in the year. They're banking on whichever one finally makes it, like, oh, this is what makes them cool, everybody come on in. And it looks passable, it looks like a movie.
Yeah.
Like, to me, I'm not the biggest Warcraft person.
See,
but you have a better frame of reference than I do.
Yeah, well, it really seems more like the events of Warcraft 3, which really World of Warcraft does feature those events in it. It's just a little more difficult to understand what the chronological order of stuff is when you're playing the MMO, as opposed to Warcraft through Warcraft 3, where it really was just as simple as humans versus orcs. And here comes this story of the orcs leave their world through a portal because their world's about to get destroyed, and now they are forced to be on this planet against their will, really, and now they have to figure out how to survive with human beings, and human beings don't know what the frick to do, so... Well,
that looks exactly like what the trailer shows. Like, I can't really say anything more with the effects. Look about on par with Lord of the Rings, but by now, that's saying it's passé.
Yeah, exactly.
I
understand that. I understand what you mean by that. If you do not know anything about Warcraft, yeah, it just looks kind of like generic fantasy.
Yeah, but to me, it does not look like crap. I can say that much.
No, it just looks like it's gonna be kind of middle of the road.
Yeah.
Unless Blizzard is still withholding, they're still withholding like millions and millions of players. So, I mean, shoot, it could be a pretty big audience just for the WoW crowd, but I'm not sure.
Well, it remains to be seen, but we'll end up finding out more about that later this year. Also having to do with game news, we got a cinematic trailer earlier from Doom coming out just in a little bit, showing... basically the one guy fighting off all of these different demons there. Not very much gameplay because this is cinematic. I'm very much looking forward to playing this. It's nice seeing how each incursion he gets a little bit more battle damage. Oh, there's an explosion here. There's a slash across his chest. Bigger and bigger demons as he goes through the game. some people were complaining, well, it looks too slow. I'm like, no, this looks fine to me. I mean, Doom was what it was when it came out on the console, or, not console at the time, PC at its time.
Mm-hmm.
That was fine. Now we gotta expect something a little bit different, but it still feels like Doom to me.
Yeah, I feel like Doom has evolved and changed with the times, while still retaining what it... Like, I feel like any of us, when we were kids, we were a certain way, and as adults, we are a different thing, but at the core, we are still ourselves, and some parts of you will never change, while something of you does. It grows. It grew just as we all did, I think.
Right.
So I think it is to be expected.
In other gaming news, we also got a tiny 30-second trailer for Star Fox Zero that comes out later next month, because, we're just a day away here, on the 22nd, April 22nd. Again, very much looking forward to that.
Yes.
Also, I was going to bring up the me thing, but you already brought that up, so that's covered. Let's move on to actually some anime news. So, Escaflowne, we talked to you guys about the upcoming redub from Funimation.
Yeah, we brought that up a couple times, yeah.
So now we have more information on the cast for that, and they are as follows. Jeremy Schwartz will be playing Emperor Dornkirk. Chris Guerrero will be playing Balgus. Bryn April will be Prince Chid.
Chid.
Chris Kaysen as Shesta. Chuck Huber as Jajuka. And Ian Sinclair as Gaddis. Along with a bunch of other notable actors in there. Of course, Aaron Deismuth playing Vaughn, and Caitlin Glass playing Hitomi.
So we still don't have anybody set as DeLandau right now?
Actually, they might have announced DeLandau, and it just got... They really didn't list the rest of the cast very well.
They
it's
sure did not, alright. Oh, wait, they're right there.
Vic is Falcon. DeLandau. Joel McDonald will be DeLandau.
Not too... I see names of anime that I am familiar with, but I have never watched said anime that this individual has voiced for. But I am most interested in DeLandau, because DeLandau is a fantastic
for the most part,
character.
At this point, I think they've got a full cast now.
Oh, yeah, it looks absolutely done.
So now the interesting thing to see, well, rather, is to hear what they sound like in the role. So hopefully we'll be getting trailers the closer we get to the release. On that. Okay, in other news, let's talk Tokusatsu here. So, Kamen Rider Ichigo, or Kamen Rider 1, the movie, came out this past weekend in Japan, opening at number 4. Now, the reason for this being, a lot of people were actually very excited from some exit poll interviews. Like, they brought, older men brought their kids to see it, and older women came out to support, Hiroshi Fujioka back in the role. The unfortunate part was, as with the case all over the world last week,
Batman v Superman happened.
Opened at number 1, and that's the reason that their, Japan's local hero opened at number 4, but that's still a very strong opening.
Yeah, because I imagine the numbers must not actually be that bad, because I feel like the Japanese film industry is almost like a completely different, like you bank them differently, and people
you kind of do.
People attend them a little differently.
Yes. So it'll be interesting to see, how that plays out, whether or not it'll drop any lower, because, we can't kid ourselves. When it comes to a Tokusatsu movie, like something from Super Sentai or Kamen Rider, they come out, and you're lucky if they get... anywhere in the top 5. If they break the top 5, that's actually really good. And then from there, they'll slowly decline. But here, opening it within the top 5 at number 4, that's very good. And then 2, critically, one did better than the other, and I'll let you guys guess which one did better. Yes, very much looking forward to seeing when we actually get that over here in some way, shape, or form. Hopefully one day legally, if Toei would get off their butts.
Yeah, if only. But it's not going to happen right now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Speaking of other illegal things we have to do because of Toei, Kamen Rider Amazons will be coming out tomorrow. Actually, today. Actually, probably right now. Over in Japan, since over there it's the 1st.
Right.
So we'll probably talk to you guys a little bit more about that later on once clips become available. Let's put it that way.
Exactly.
And the last thing for tonight is kind of an interesting follow-up from last week's story. So we talked to you guys about Microsoft's Twitter AI, Tay.
Oh man,
so
that's that poor sad little AI girl.
So Tay came back for a second.
Did she now?
Yes. She was only on for maybe a few hours, and then she got stuck in some sort of a loop, retweeting herself and tweeting to herself this phrase: "You are too fast. Take a rest."
Please take a rest.
and then it just kept cycling over and over and over and over again, and then eventually they had to pull the plug again. So I don't know why they thought, okay, I think she's good now, get her back out there, and then she instantly breaks down under the pressures of the internet.
Obviously, it is far too early to release AI to the world. That kind of AI. I mean, we work with AI all the time, quite frankly, but it's the artificial intelligence is only so intelligent. And this one apparently also is only so intelligent, but it's intelligent in a stupid way. You know?
There's got to be a better way of phrasing that, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I think it's pretty easy to say Tay's dead. We should keep Tay down.
I don't know.
Don't bring her back.
I get this
she
feeling
tried.
that Microsoft is going to pump money into it
Fool me once, shame
anyway.
on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times. Come with me if you want to live. Like, let's not do this to ourselves, alright?
Microsoft will do it because money.
But there was no money to be made here.
It's not about making money, it's that they want to prove themselves, and so they're going to pour money into it just to keep it alive.
Well, tell them to stop.
Well, you couldn't tell Bill Gates to stop pouring his own money into making the Xbox happen, and now it's a success, so...
But that man's a philanthropist.
That man is also the smartest, stupid man ever.
Yeah, you could say that. That's arguable.
He's barely a program and more of a thief. A very brilliant thief, so... They'll just pump money into it until it works. That's exactly the way Microsoft works.
Well, that's really the way a lot of things work. If it doesn't work, pour more money into it.
Exactly.
Something we'll talk about later on in tonight's show.
Alright.
So let's go ahead and get to our first story of the evening, having to do with Overwatch. Yes, and specifically, this is the picture in question. What you're looking at, quite nicely nestled between the two of our shoulders, is the article in question. This is Tracer, one of the characters you'll get to play as once Overwatch comes out for PC, PS4, and Xbox One in May.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this here is one of Tracer's victory poses, which a lot of people got to see playing the beta of the game. And as such, that caused a bit of a uproar.
Like, it's not even... I mean...
Like, okay, it's funny the way we're sitting, because it just happened to show up right between us. But this isn't all the shot. You know, it's her full body.
Yeah, it's her full body, which is fully clothed. And, like, are we saying that we can never look at female characters from the back? Because it's not like this is even that sexy of a pose, unless you're just really turned on by a hip-hop. You know? Which, I mean, if that's your thing, I can't knock you for it. It's like, I don't think that's a problem. I also think that lots of women enjoy standing that way. It's comfortable. I get that you can really see some curvature.
But it's not even the biggest curvature.
It's really kind of not. I guess the problem is just that whatever clothes she's wearing are just so form-fitting that you can see all of the form.
But even then, I still don't get what the complaint is. So,
I don't understand.
So,
I really don't understand. This is not the most ridiculous thing I have ever seen.
And the thing about it is, the title of this pose in game is called Over the Shoulder, which is quite literally her looking over her shoulder. That's all it is. You just happen to be seeing her backside. It's not
I have totally seen male characters have other really awesome poses, and you're looking at them from the back, and you can also see that they, in fact, have butts because they are human beings. And I have never heard anyone complain about it before. So here, people are going to be crying, social justice this, social justice that. I think you could almost cry that from either side. Am I being social justice because I want, or am I being feminist because I just want her to be treated like a person who's allowed to stand there and feel strong and cool? Because I don't necessarily think that this is sexy. This is her standing like she's strong and cool. Or do we cry social justice because dude over here cries, I got a boner looking at this, so this shouldn't be in the game. Or
well,
something.
here, I have some of the comments here, things that were given to Blizzard as commentary on this. Here's one for an example. What about this pose has anything to do with the character you're building in Tracer? It's not fun, it's not silly, it has nothing to do with being a fast elite killer, it just reduces Tracer to another bland female sex symbol. To which I'm saying, really?
I think it looks like... I think that pose tells me a lot about her character, in fact. It shows that she's strong and confident, look, because her arms are kind of out, like, she's not, like, got her hands on her hips, she's not, like, feeling her own chest and crotch up.
Yeah.
This is not, like... Yeah, it's a little bit sexy in that she looks confident the way
like,
that
if you
she's
think
standing.
confidence is sexy, like, okay, good for you.
Is
but
it
you
threateningly
might be
sexy?
Is that what we're talking about? Because we're not entirely sure here. I'll read another one here. We aren't looking at a Widowmaker pose here, Widowmaker being another character in the game who noticeably has larger hips.
Mm-hmm.
We aren't looking at a Widowmaker pose here. This isn't a character who is in part defined by flaunting her sexuality. This pose says to the player base, oh, we've got all these cool, diverse characters, but at any moment we're willing to reduce them to sex symbols to help boost our investment game. And I'm like, so double standard then? Because it's cool if it's Widowmaker and she's supposed to do that, but it's not cool if it's Tracer who's not supposed to do that? Because you decided that?
Yeah, why did they decide that? Because Blizzard initially decided that she's supposed to do that. And now, because they think that people are not going to buy it because of this outcry of these very loud-spoken individuals, they now think that she no longer does that. And yeah, it is up to Blizzard to make that decision, like, oh, if there's too many people complaining about it, I guess it's gonna cause too much bad feedback that's going to cause us not to make sales, and so we have to make this decision to do... I bet you they didn't want to do this. I bet you they did not want to pull the plug on this.
This is... I'll go ahead and read Blizzard's response to this as of 2 days ago, talking about the decision to actually remove the pose from the game. We understand that not everyone will agree with this decision, and that's okay. That's what these kinds of public tests are for. This wasn't pandering or caving, though. This was the right call from our perspective, and we think the game will be just as fun the next time you play it. He noted that the team already wasn't entirely happy with the original pose, and they've been working on a replacement pose that we feel shows love and speaks more to the character of Tracer. So they're saying that they're willing to work around it and then replace it with something later. But I don't.
It's good on their part.
Good on their part. It's good damage control.
I think that Blizzard is doing a good job, given how, quite frankly, dumb response there was to it.
It was a very tactful way of handling it, I think, because it's not just enough to blanket take it down and then not say everything, or take it down and be like, okay, fine, you big whiners here. No, they were very tactful, like, look, we understand you guys want to respect the character, we're going to replace it, we're not just going to take it down and leave this big old opening there, we're going to replace it, we know you guys like the character, we hope you still like the character, please buy our game, which is essentially what you're still trying to get at. But that's good on them for keeping mindful of it. My question now is, so this was just for Tracer. I do want to say there's something of a double standard there, going back to the Widowmaker comment, because I don't think Widowmaker is inherently sexy. She's more assassin-looking than Tracer
Have you seen some of her poses?
Yes, absolutely.
And do they look sexier than this?
Somewhat, yes, but I never me personally, I wasn't looking at her as... something to objectify. I'm just looking, well, what are her stats? Oh, okay, she is really good with a gun. Okay, fine. I might play as her later. Actually, no, I'm going to mainline Reaper. I'm not going to lie about that. But, even then, it's like, okay, so one butt, like, all butts matter sort of thing. I don't want to go there. I'm just saying, if one butt is allowed to be shown prominently, why not all butts?
That is my consistent thought about, all things regarding body sexuality. If we can have a female butt shown in a certain way, then I would like to also have male butts shown in a certain way. If we're gonna objectify this butt, let's also objectify this other butt. Or if I can't objectify this butt, then please tell me we can also not objectify any other butt. Like, make it a big blanket decision that... Right,
because then, I guess... should another pose like that come up, or even if it did for Widowmaker, nobody's saying anything. If any of the other female characters there get one, nobody's gonna say anything. Well, like, what if it was Winston? What if it was the big giant ape? showing off his furry butt.
Everybody would laugh, and they wouldn't make a big deal out of it.
So not all butts are equal according to gamers.
No, they're not. According to people in general, I think. Not all butts are equal.
Yeah, you know what? I'll agree to that. Free the butt.
Yeah, free the butt.
Because, really, I don't think it takes away anything from Tracer's character. When it's just a standing idle pose, the one thing out of this whole pantheon of other in-game stuff, the little stuff she's one of the prominent characters in that first cinematic trailer, and there's nothing overtly sexual about her there. I think she's fine. I don't think there's a problem with her. I don't think I have a problem with viewing her from the back. It's like, okay, there's the rest of your costume. Good reference. Hey, cosplay friends of mine that I know are looking. Hey, here's some reference. Go for it. Even on top of that, Blizzard has made it very easy for each of the characters in Overwatch. They've got packets. You can go to the official Overwatch website and download the packets to look at these characters. And I imagine you must have had to have gotten a good shot of Tracer's backside before, so then Purpose changes it. So if it's just a still photo in a packet so someone can make a costume out of it, it's okay. But if it's just idle pose after you've won a match, then it's not okay.
Sure.
Somebody explain that to me, because I don't think that makes sense.
Now, this actually isn't the only thing that Blizzard apparently has removed from the beta of Overwatch. I understand that at a certain point in an earlier version of the beta, they had outhouses on a particular map, and then you could see lying on the ground, mind you, not opened up to anything. You could just tell there were, like, generic nudie magazines, which would insinuate that somebody's been going into that outhouse and yanking it. And after a little bit, after another update, suddenly those magazines were no longer on the ground.
Well, I imagine that was just a joke
so,
by the programmers.
Yeah, well, and now it's gone. Now that joke is not there anymore. So, this is not the only thing that has been in the beta and then has been removed from the beta. I do not see the nudie mags being replaced as this pose is being replaced.
Well, see, you can get rid of the nudie mags and it's be like, oh, okay, alright, yeah, clean that up. That doesn't really matter to the game. Where here it's like, no, it's a character! This means something! I want to be able to look at her as this pure thing while I objectify Widowmaker. Like, that seems to be the message that is being sent here. And, other people are complaining, like, oh, if you're doing this for, Tracer, are people going to be complaining later on down the road for a character like McCready, who's the cowboy-looking guy? Like, oh, you're going to have people complaining, get rid of his cigar, because I don't want people thinking smoking is cool. It's like, no, he's a caricature.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not real. Like, it's not even real smoke. It's a game. Like, calm down. He doesn't even have time to smoke. He's shooting people. I might play him second to Reaper. I like the gun guys in this. But I'm just saying, like, where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line on the line and then the curved lines? Like, where does that go? Because I'm not entirely sure here. I think it's a dumb argument. I think it's good on Blizzard for them to...
They are doing the best things that they can possibly do to make sure they are pleasing all audiences, because as a business, that's what you want to do. You want to please as many people as humanly possible, while losing the least amount of crowd. And I do feel like this pose getting removed is probably not going to hurt... They're right. It's not going to hurt the gameplay. It's not going to hurt... probably not going to hurt their sales unless somebody out there is so offended by the removal of just this pose that they refuse to play the game at all.
Like, we're not talking about a section here like, okay, fine, removing a pose, that's one thing. But I don't think that was really much to get mad at. Like, if it was a case of later on down the road, say a character like Mei, who's in this giant parka, if for some reason when she wins a match, she ditches the parka and the pants and she's just got a bikini on underneath, then you got something to complain about there. But until they add that, and I don't know that they will, I think we should just kind of, cool your butt here.
How many times do you think we said the word butt?
Once we actually load this to YouTube, somebody go back and count. And
butt counter?
Yeah, do a butt counter. How many times we've actually said the word butt this episode. And if you manage to bring that back to us, if you ever run into us at a convention, we owe you a Coke.
Oh, don't promise things like that.
I can. It's like $1.
All they have to do is tell us.
Put a disclaimer underneath. I don't know.
All right.
But I think that's about as much as we can talk about Tracer's butt. I just think it's really funny that it ended up perfectly right between us.
Oh, I expected that to exactly be what was going to happen.
And that is beautiful.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our second story of the evening. Full Metal Alchemist going live action.
Yeah,
okay,
that's the thing. It kind of came out of nowhere, it felt like, really.
Yes, so filming is actually going to start very soon in June of this year. They're going to be filming until August. They're targeting a summer 2017 release.
So just a little over a year from now.
Really, it's very interesting to see how they're going to do this. The main role, right here over my other shoulder, of Edward Elric is going to be played by Ryosuke Yamada, who is actually currently in the live-action Assassination Classroom movies. He's part of a group called
Heisei Jump. It's this guy right here. The guy behind you is the director.
Yes.
That director, oh gosh, I have his name up somewhere, actually.
Fumihiko Sori.
So I guess he directed, I'm not sure what Ping Pong is, but I know Ashita no Joe.
I heard very good things about the live-action adaptation of Ashita no Joe.
I do not know anything about the live-action series. I just know Ashita no Joe is a hugely popular boxing manga and anime series for decades.
Did you ever see the trailer for it?
The live-action?
For Ashita no Joe? It looked just as intense as the panels.
Really?
You know, they got that real... You know, the veins popping out while somebody's driving in a punch.
Then would you say that sort of appearance looks promising when you place that idea on top of Full Metal Alchemist?
Admittedly, I can only say so much since I only saw the trailer and I never saw that there was an a sub anywhere of the movie. I do know that it exists.
Right.
But now knowing that he's the guy behind this, I want to go ahead and, seek it out and see if I can't find it just to get a baseline of comparison between the two.
Yes, I know Ping Pong is a game, Tortoiseshell, thank you. I'm sure it must also be either an anime or a manga, or clearly he turned it into a movie. Whatever it is, thank you.
So, really the thing to talk about is these are the major news tidbits that we have right now that they're going to be filming this year. Comes out next year. We've got a director and we've got our star. Now what we're going to be watching out for over the next couple of weeks is, of course, the announcements of the rest of the cast. This very large cast of Full Metal Alchemist or Brotherhood, depending on which poison you pick, because both can be very addicting. I remember when the anime came out, 10 years ago. No, more than,
it was more than
11, 12 years ago, something like that. When it hit, it was very... I remember being in my anime club in college, watching the first, I think it was the first 4 episodes we all watched in a row, and a whole auditorium full of kids, looking up at the screen and being like, whoa! Because, we had never seen anything like it. And at the time, even to this day, it's still one of my favorite series, going so far as I even cosplayed Edward once, back at the height of the popularity, and then that died down, and then Brotherhood came out, and then it all came back up again, but at that point, I was just a tad bit too tall, and I didn't fit in my costume anymore because I worked out.
Well, you get older and things happen.
Yeah, you get older and things happen. Now, the thing to think about here is adaptations, really. When it comes over here in the States, comic book to live action, we've seen what happens. They don't exactly all go to plan. Sometimes things get mucked up. Sometimes things get very mucked up. When it comes to anime adaptations here in the States, things get very mucked up, and we're still very worried to a certain extent about Ghost in the Shell whenever DreamWorks decides to get that out.
Right, exactly.
But as far as
really, even in Japan, there are some hit and miss adaptations of anime as well.
Yes, that is very true. Hit, that would be something like Rurouni Kenshin. Or My Love Story. Those did very well, critically acclaimed on both sides. Fans of just movies and fans of the original works.
Miss, however, Attack on Titan. Wow, Japan was super disappointed with those 2 Attack on Titan movies. In fact, they ranked them number 1 and number 3 most disappointing movies of 2015?
Yes.
Oh my god, that is so sad.
Do they have a live-action case closed? There was a drama. I think there was a brief drama done of it, so there is a form of it in live action. But
not necessarily a movie. If there is a movie, then I don't know about it.
It's like a miniseries.
Yeah.
But point being, now over in Japan, if you're tracking things over the last couple of years, anime adaptations being turned into live-action properties, the number has gone up significantly. You know, you've got things like Kenshin, Black Butler, Death Note, Gatchaman, Yatterman, both of which were kind of on the miss scale. Because specifically Gatchaman, which they put a lot of money into over there, underperformed terribly over there because they it was one of those cases where they wanted to make it look like an American sci-fi action superhero movie,
which is
and that's not what they
Gatchaman
wanted.
is.
No, not at all. And the story just dragged, and it was
and then,
it was not good.
Over 10 years ago, I'd say by now, that Cutie Honey
Cutie Honey
had both a live-action movie and TV series, right?
Yes, Cutie Honey the live, and then Cutie Honey. Cutie Honey was, depending on how you looked at it, because they had a companion series with it, R.E. Cutie Honey, that was the anime that came out at the same time, in the same, it kind of told the same story as the movie, just a little different for the ending. That was fine as far as an adaptation goes. Those were pretty close to one another, and you could be like, okay, yeah, that works, you know, that goes together. But the thing you got to keep in mind is that people, even more so over there, are very, very much sticklers for faithfulness to the manga. And when it comes to something like Full Metal Alchemist, you know, there's so many diehard fans, both here in the States and in Japan, where it came from, that, you know, for as loud as people were for Attack on Titan, and that's just been within the last 5 years, with something that's 10 years old, like, say, Full Metal Alchemist, that outcry is going to be even louder. And the thing about it, just like Attack on Titan, because over here distribution rights are with Funimation, we got the live action over here in a limited release 3 months after Japan got it.
Yeah.
You know, we had both movies, so that wasn't even a problem.
And Funimation's gonna be on this.
Oh, no,
easily,
Funimation's been
doubt.
writing Full Metal Alchemist ever since they got it. You know, and you know, you don't even have to question, there will be a showing over here. As soon as this was announced on Monday, Funimation was like, okay, when do we get the rights? Come on, let's talk. We've got the money, let's do this. And you know they're going to have, like, Fathom cinema events for this movie. They're going to have contests. They're going to have everything just like they did for the DBZ movies.
I'm sure, yeah.
You know, have their own pre-show and things of that nature. What's going to be interesting to see is how the adaptation works as a whole, because you've got to get all of these different elements right. Like, one, you got to get the effects right, because, you know, we're dealing with a lot of alchemy, magic, monsters, things of that nature. If any part of that sucks, we're going to let you know, because we've seen things, there's a standard now for these things, and some of this stuff can be done very practically, I think. You don't have to overdo the CG. I don't think what anybody wants to see, and the one thing I'm number one afraid of right there, a CGI Al.
God,
I don't want to see
not.
CGI Al. I want to see
not.
a dude in a suit of armor with a green screen cap under the mask, and that's it. That's what I want. You don't need to do it any more than that, because then you're going to ruin it.
Yeah, I agree.
And then it's going to look stupid. Because I've seen stuff like that happen in some of these other adaptations, especially like when the CG takes over for the Titans. In this Attack on Titan movie, you saw how bad it looked.
Well, it was bad, too, because it kind of did this weird, bizarro, they didn't know whether they wanted it to be CG or puppets thing, and so you could really tell really hard when it was CG, and you could really tell really hard when it was a puppet, and it didn't blend together well at all.
No, they didn't blend at all, and that didn't work out at all. And then, of course, the next biggest thing is casting. Now you still have to cast for Alphonse, for Roy Mustang, for Winry, for any of these large number of characters, the homunculi. If they play their cards right, they're going to have a very large, very decent cast. On top of that, just like with Attack on Titan, this isn't going to be one movie. The story's too big. You've got to make this in multiples, just like with Kenshin, just like with Attack on Titan. There's going to be at least 2 movies, minimum.
Yeah,
Did the same thing with Death Note, same thing with Gantz. They're going to do that here. It's going to be at least 2 movies, maybe 3. Depending on how far they want to take the story, because you cannot shrink down all of Full Metal Alchemist into one movie. You just can't do it.
No, if they were to try to do it, it would be way too rushed.
And then
it would be very bad.
That would be a death
decision
sentence in and of itself, trying to do that. Even then, when Full Metal Alchemist would have a movie, it's an offshoot. Like, okay, here's something that happened off to the side, don't worry about it. Or the one continuation with Conqueror of Shambhala.
Yeah, they didn't try and retell the whole story in a movie.
Yeah, they did a
which I have seen anime do before in the past.
And they do a lot now. You know, Evangelion's a perfect example of that. But with Full Metal Alchemist, you know, I think they have plenty to work with if the thing I worry about, and you tell me whether or not you feel the same thing, is that when it comes to these movies, you notice their turnover rate for turning something over into a live-action property is incredibly fast compared to over here.
Lately, yes.
You know,
especially within the last 5-ish years.
I really want to say the last 3 years. With Attack on Titan, the turnover rate was about a year.
Yeah.
With this current series that's really big over there, Erased, the turnover rate was months. My Love Story, months. Like, they turned it over like that.
Like that.
That's it. And I'm worried that maybe that's why some of these don't come out as well as they could, because they're rushing it.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is like we've talked about, their film industry isn't nearly as, I don't want to use the term strong, just, I guess, experienced as ours.
Our film industry, that is our export, is entertainment. That is like what we excel at.
Right.
And then I had a Japanese culture class instructor when I was in Japan, in school in Japan, who would say to us, we in Japan, we didn't invent anything, we just took everything and did it better. And so they think that they did not create the entertainment industry in the same way that we did. They would like to think that they do it better than us sometimes. Actually.
Parasite, that's another one. Parasite got a live action movie within a year of the release, so that one already exists. See, that's the thing when you realize, I want to see this one. They already did it. That's the weird part. They've already done it, and I really that one looked pretty good. I mean, the main character doesn't wear glasses, but that's kind of all right, fine, I'll concede that. But here with this one, this is something I'm emotionally invested in, because this meant a lot to me in my younger days of, really the height of my love for anime. Here it's kind of died down. Not that I don't love it any more, it's just I've learned to temper it, use it wisely. But here I'm hopefully optimistic, yet cautious, because I want this to succeed. I want to see this first trailer whenever it comes out and be like, yes, that's everything I remember about the series, just like I felt about Kenshin, or if you guys are familiar with the series, Beck. Beck is an amazing adaptation. For, in that case, the one time, it's a long movie, it's like 2.5 hours, but they got pretty much the whole of the anime into one movie. I don't know how they did it, but they did it, and it's an amazing cast. If you ever get the chance, go watch that. Point being, with this, they've got a lot riding on it. Bottom line, because fans on both sides are going to be pissed if they screw this up. And they're going to know. This could, if they screw this up, like, I don't want to, or I do kind of, like, morbid curiosity, want to see how Funimation handles bad screenings if this thing sucks.
Yeah.
Like, all these angry Edward and Al and all these giant Roy's Mustang miniskirt army cosplayers storming out.
God, I hope that mini-skirt army is dead.
Oh no, they're coming back as soon as... If they didn't know, they know by the end of the week. 35-year-old women
coming back is in this mini-skirt army.
Yeah. So definitely we'll keep you guys updated on this. Hopefully we will have good things to report out of this live-action Full Metal Alchemist movie. And with the time we have left, we have a lot to cover for this last story. Final Fantasy 15.
Okay, I'm just
gonna... everything.
So I've got trailer going on in the background here, and that's pretty much what's just gonna go while we talk about stuff. This is the most recent trailer that was released at last night's Final Fantasy 15 Uncovered event, which we knew was going to be coming for a couple of months, and we knew they were going to reveal the date of Final Fantasy 15. Let's just get right to it. They leaked it before the event started.
Hours before the event.
It's September 30th. It's coming out this year, September 30th, and I have to admit, I guess I have to eat a hat. Because I really didn't believe it was going to come out.
You ain't eating that beanie. I like that beanie.
I'm not going to eat that beanie.
We'll get you a hat.
But then there's still skepticism among some fans, like, watch it be delayed. Like, I really still see that floating around.
I see that
from
happening.
Time to time. You think
well,
it's
they made that
delayed?
joke at this thing last night. Oh, it's delayed. And I was like, don't you play. Because this isn't my thing. Like, Kamen Rider's my thing, Final Fantasy is your thing,
yeah,
but I'm mad for your sake.
So let me kind of talk about this, because you stick with a franchise like when you talk about Kamen Kamen Rider, and you know that there are bad things happening within your fandom, you stick with it because there's still a part of you that wants it to be good.
Yes.
You know, I feel that way about Final Fantasy 15. I lose hope sometimes. Now they did a fantastic hype job last night. They really did. Now it's whether or not you actually buy into all of the hype, because I'm gonna list, like, this is ludicrous amounts of just crap that they talked about, and it's up to you to decide whether or not it's actually crap. So they released this new trailer. In this trailer, I know you're not hearing it right now, but they're also playing the Final Fantasy 15 theme song, which is a cover of Stand By Me. Stand by me. Oh, stand
So what are they? Are the four guys out on a road trip to see a dead body? Is that what I'm being told here?
Like, I don't feel that in a Final Fantasy. I suppose I feel it in a road trip. So I guess, like, maybe I just have to tell myself this isn't a Final Fantasy and maybe it'll be a good game. But it's just like, stuff kept coming out. Like, Final Fantasy 15 gets a 5-episode anime prequel. Now, it's hard for me to say that this is a prequel. They launched the first episode of it
last night.
What was it specifically called? I'm trying to look it up. Brotherhood, Final Fantasy 15. And it looks kind of prequel, kind of not, because the majority of this episode, which is less than 12 minutes long, by the way, looked like it was taking place during the events of the game, so I don't understand how you can necessarily call it
for what
a
it's
prequel.
worth, it actually looks pretty cool. Like, I didn't want you to play the demo when you first got it, but looking at this for what it is, I have to admit that looks kind of cool. And I'm not usually very big on a lot of Final Fantasy tropes. Like, I've got my favorites, but that looked cool.
It was well animated, and
Yes.
the anime was doing exactly the things that happen in the game.
Well, yeah, because this was, as I understand, was it Production
It
IG?
was Production IG who animated it, and that is not the only thing they dropped. They dropped that there is also a full-length feature CG movie
called Kingsglaive. For which they've got a very notable voice cast for. You've got Sean Bean and Lena Headey from Game of Thrones in here, as well as Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad. Like, those aren't cheap names by any stretch of the imagination. So just adding those on there, you know, that's what took me aback last night. You know, you had it there over in the corner. I'm like, is that Aaron Paul?
But I'm looking at this trailer for this movie, which, by the way, the movie takes place concurrently with the events in-game within Final Fantasy 15. And so that makes me wonder about this movie, like, is it going to be a full, easy-to-understand, easy-to-understand movie? Is it going to leave you... It'll probably hype you up if you're like, man, I can't wait to play this Final Fantasy game, but if you're looking at it just from a movie standpoint, is it actually going to be a good movie?
I don't know, because admittedly, if I understand this correctly, it's from the same director as Advent Children?
The co-director, because it's not from Tetsuya Nomura, but it was his co-director, so it's going to be a lot of action-y, CG effects.
Well, see, I'm wondering if for this, that's not going to be so bad, because I think part of the problem, and we talked about this at length yesterday, is that with Advent Children, there was kind of this preconceived expectation of how these characters look and move in the world based off what the graphics and the understanding of the world was at the time. Whereas here, there's already, we're given this trail of people already being able to jump around and, throw swords and things like that.
That's fine.
So for
that
this,
part
I don't think that's
bother
going to be a problem.
No, that part doesn't bother me. The part that bothers me is that I feel like it's just not going to feel like a complete story as a movie if you're just watching it for movie's sake, because it has to tie into a video game and tell this other...
Because you need the magic word. Context!
It comes with context, it comes with all this other information that you're probably not getting, and then on top of that, I'm watching this trailer during that launch event, and I'm like, is that guy driving an Audi? And sure enough,
it's an Audi.
Square Enix partnered with Audi in order to build one very specific model car that they are not selling just to be this ridiculously expensive display, like...
Why would you do that?
Look at all of this money they're blowing on really high-name voice cast for this probably really expensive CG movie to sell this, to create this one really expensive car that you are never going to mass produce and sell to anybody ever. So there's that. Also, mobile games! We got
Yeah, they snuck in a
games.
mobile game,
So,
too.
There's a mobile game that's based on pinball, kind of plays like pinball, and it's got monsters in it.
I'm not gonna lie, that looked kind of cool.
And
I'm not gonna lie.
It's an in-game thing that you can apparently do within Final Fantasy 15, but before Final Fantasy 15 comes out, download that friggin' mobile game because you can take that mini game with you anywhere you want to go. And I was like, oh my god, they're just throwing more crap at us. Also, just last night, they released a brand new demo, the Final Fantasy 15 Platinum demo, in which you play a younger childhood version of the main character, Noctis.
Noctis, yeah.
And it's the only way that you can obtain Carbuncle. If you beat this demo, you get Carbuncle, you can play him in your full version of the game.
And that's the only way you'll be able to play with Carbuncle in 15 when it comes out.
Yes.
Well, that's a legit thing. Like, you would go for that because you like Carbuncle. Most iterations of Carbuncle.
So I'm gonna, I've downloaded it, I've not yet played it, I'm actually considering streaming it a little later after this stream tonight. If anybody wants to kind of see me clunk through that up for a little bit, then I guess, whatever you want. Then came the unveiling of all these different versions of, because now you can pre-order the game already.
Yeah, pre-orders are up now.
Pre-orders are up now, and there's 3 different versions. One is the very simple, special $60, you get the Masamune in it if you pre-order it. I mean, that's cool. Otherwise, it does nothing. Then there's the next highest tier. I'm blanking on what the name of that tier is actually called. Maybe I'll be able to look it up, but it is one that costs significantly more than the first one, has more stuff in it, has, I believe, the soundtrack, and the second one. The third one, though...
The highest tier one. That's like $250.
No, like $230, something like that.
Something like that.
No, it might have been $270. There's only 30,000 copies of it being made. It's only being sold through the Square Enix official store.
Right.
Realize it's like $270 because it's coming with a
steel box. It comes with a
Play Arts Kai figure of
Noctis.
And oh my god, just ridiculous. All the art books and extra DVDs and all this other in-game crap. Also, it has the secret super special awesome 6th episode of that anime that you're not going to be able to watch any other way other than spending $270 to watch this like 10-minute episode of this thing. Like,
somebody's going to rip that thing. Somebody's going to be a G and rip it,
I'll eventually see it,
Big ups to fighting the power.
So there was a lot of crap, and it was a real significant event. Hironobu Sakaguchi was the first person to walk on stage, and Sakaguchi was the dude who friggin' created Final Fantasy, and he left after 10.
Right.
But he's not involved in this game. Of course, he no longer works at Square Enix, but he's the dude who opened it up, gave like the keynote speech. He even said things like, sometimes, like any father, you worry about your child.
I thought that was really funny of him to say.
Yeah.
Because it's like, bro, you don't know how far your child is falling.
So he's like, now I'm going to sit down in the audience and I'm going to watch this unveiling with the rest of you. Because he doesn't know.
But he wasn't the only older member back there in the audience, too.
No, there's also Yoshitaka Amano, who did work on the game. As many people will know, he's the artist who designs the art label of every single game. Sometimes most of the character designs, he designed the characters for this. And then via video came Nobuo Uematsu, who also said, I am not working on this game, but I wanted you to know that it's gonna be great or something. Like,
yeah.
All they really wanted was to make the audience feel comfortable, like, no guys, it's okay, we got their approval.
See, I know we make this comparison a lot between, stuff that happens to your fandom and stuff that happens to my fandom. I can't help but flash back to 2009 when they had the press conference for Kamen Rider Decades movie, All Riders vs. Die Shocker, and they brought in the original actors for Kamen Riders 1, 2, and V3 to talk about the movie and how it was going to be, and fans took that as, oh man, that means they're going to voice their characters back in the movie again. It might not be in person, but they're going to come back. And then you went to go watch the movie, and then it wasn't them, it was sound-alikes, and not even quite good sound-alikes. It's like, what the hell?
So we kind of don't have time to answer all the questions that I really wanted to ask to begin with, but one I wanted to ask is, like, there's so much crap going on here. Do you think that makes up for 10 years gone, or do you think that's them being like, oh crap, we waited 10 years. Maybe this is the reason why it took 10 years. Maybe the CG movie, yes.
Maybe.
The anime, though, seems to me like, oh crap, we have to scramble for something to bring in the hype, to bring in the tease.
Bring in the noise, bring in the funk.
Because if there's only 5 to 6 episodes of this anime and they're all less than 12 minutes each, do you have any idea how slave-driven the anime industry is to make a 30-minute episode every single week? And they're probably only going to get these episodes out like once a month up until the release of this game. These slave drivers will have worked to have gotten this out in like a single week. As good as it looks, there is no way that this wasn't... This was just a last-minute tack-on to add on to all of their... which maybe that's a good thing. Maybe
I'm just wondering, because we were having this question, does all of this stuff, does it make up for 10 years? Is it the reason for 10 years? Or is this just, an excuse for 10 years? Like, okay, just buy all this stuff right now.
Merchandising, yeah.
Yeah.
Are we
Final
fooled?
Fantasy 15, the flamethrower.
The question is, are we fooled? I'm not sure yet. I need to see more. So we've gone over time.
So you're at least stunned.
I am stunned that they're releasing so much stuff, but I am not certain about the quality yet.
That is understandable. I get that.
Yeah. Right now it's just stuff. That's all I know. It's just stuff.
A lot of expensive stuff.
A lot of stuff.
But, yes, as it stands, we're kind of at our time for the hour, so we can go ahead and continue these conversations over in the after show where we talk to you guys, do our Q&A for a bit, and then lightning round at the end. But we thank you guys, of course, for coming out here on our regular night, Thursday nights at 9 Central, over here at youtube.com/live.
No.
MarsGirl/live.
Yeah, it's youtube.com/MarsGirl/live.
I knew I was going to say that backwards. I knew I was going to do that.
I don't know why you took up the thing that I always say.
I'm trying to help.
Okay, don't do that anymore.
Okay, fine.
Alright, so do that next week.
Yes. But of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, come on over here during the live show. It's a lot of fun, a lot of cool people here to talk to, shoot the breeze with.
It's time to do Q&A.
Yes.
Yes.
But you can always talk to us during the week over on Twitter. I'm at Josh Knight First.
And I'm at Mars Girl.
And that having been said, that's been tonight's episode of Beyond the Black Rims. We'll see you guys again next week.
Good night!